Friends, let us discuss Indian polity and constitution. So before getting into the topic, know the marks from this topic as per our examination is considered. So from this topic, we'll be getting nearly 5 marks in the exam. It's a minimum of 5 marks and a maximum of 8 marks also you can expect in the exam. And this topic is very easy, not so difficult, but only thing is you need to pay attention to the topic. So we'll be discussing all the contents of the topic, and we'll be discussing the previous year asked questions also, so that you'll be having an idea of the topic. Yeah, friends. So before discussing all those things, let us get into the topic and try to know the meaning of the polity. The word polity means the form of the government in the country. Simply the form of the government in the country. What kind of form of government is present in the country is called polity. That's it, not more than that. And to function any government, any government to function, it has three wings. The first one is like the three wings are one is legislature, and second one is executive, and third one is judiciary, friends. So what is the meaning of legislature? Legislature means it is the elected members of the elected members, that is MLAs, MPs, and etc. kind of things. And who is the executive? Executive is the council of ministers, like a prime minister, like a home minister, HRD minister, etc. And judiciary, it is the law and the court. Like you know that judiciary is nothing but law and it's nothing but court. Okay, so we know that the country is having that any government to function, it must have legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, what is the thing that describes all these three things? What is the thing that describes the functions of all these things? What are the functions of legislature? What are the functions of executive? What are the functions of judiciary? In order to know all these things, so we need to know that which describes above three wings. So the thing which describes above three things is constitution. So now we know about we will know about the constitution. So what is constitution? So as per Indian constitution is considered, it is the supreme law of the country. So it means nothing is above the constitution. If constitution says something, then it is bounded by all the people. Then also called it is also called highest law of the land. And if you directly get into the meaning of the constitution, it is nothing but the fundamental principles. It's a body of fundamental principles, like it's a book of fundamental principles, according to which a state is constituted and governed. How the state is governed and how the state is constituted, all the things will be described in the constitution. It will be having all the fundamental principles that require to govern and that require to constitute a state. And also it is having the basic rules for the minimum coordination in the society, along with the form of the government, what the form of the government is present in the country, what are the functions of the government, what are the responsibilities of the government, what are the limitations of the government. All the things will be discussed in this constitution. As per the Indian constitution is considered, it's the world's largest written constitution. It's strictly a written constitution, friends. We have a book called Constitution, and it is having all the details in the written form. It is not like Mahabharata or as we discussed in the history, it's not like Mahabharata or Ramayana that someone has wrote, and we don't have the original book. Like we have some original script of those Mahabharata and Ramayana. So and it is an evolutionary, like means if we don't have this constitution from the beginning, and we have researched many constitutions, and we brought out a constitution for our India, and that is how it is evolution. It is evolutionary in nature. Like we will see in the course of time, like how the evolution has come to, like how the constitution has been constituted. Okay, and it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. Like it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. It's the same meaning, friends. Like it was not there in the beginning, so we wrote it and we adopted ourselves. Like so, we will follow this constitution. So that is the meaning of the adoption. And this was adopted on 26th November 1949. And but the it came into full operational with effect from 26 January 1950. Right, friends. Now, just now we have seen that the constitution is evolutionary, and but how this constitution has been evoluted in India. So before getting into that, we know that India has been ruled by British, and British ruled India for almost for 4 centuries, four centuries. And British in India have led for their administrative convenience, they have laid some acts and legal developments in India. for the convenient, where they're convenient. These become the direct sources of Indian constitution. So when our constitution makers thought of having a constitution, like previously that prior to that Britisher have laid some acts and they have brought some administrative reforms and administrative developments to India. Based on that things, that constitution has been framed. So in such a way, in those development, the first thing we'll discuss is Government of India Act. There are many, but we'll discuss only important things here. So what are the provisions in Government of India Act? So in 1919, so the main provision is it introduced the concept of bicameralism in India and with the direct elections in the country. What is the meaning of bicameralism? Means it is having to, now you can see in our parliament that we are having an upper house and a lower house. Means a Rajya Sabha and a Lok Sabha. That concept was introduced in Government of India Act in 1990. An upper house, that is nothing but Council of State, we'll say, and it's now we say Rajya Sabha, and the lower house, that is called Legislative Assembly, now we say it is a Lok Sabha. And also it provided the direct elections in the country. And if you go to the second topic, and the most important thing, it has provided the establishment of Public Service Commission. So it gave the concept of Public Service Commission. So based on this act, and in 1926 the Public Service Commission was set up in India for recruiting civil servants. So this was a question asked in previous exam, friends. Please remember this thing. Yeah, whenever a government forms some act or some committee or etc. kind of things, what it does is, once you get the report, once you pass the act, and after some years they'll pass a committee. They set up a committee or a commission to review the performance of the act. In the same way, Simon Commission was appointed to review the performance of Government of India Act 1919. So in November 1927, British government appointed a commission, Sir John Simon, to review the working of Government of India Act 1990. But this commission was rejected by all the parties in India. The only reason is that the commission, all the members of the commission were British. None from India was included in the commission. So that is the reason this commission was rejected, and we are well aware of the slogan that Simon go back. So this is regarding this, right? So the second source for the second thing that we need to discuss is the Government of India Act 1935. So what is the Government of India Act 1935? What it stated? The Government of India Act 1935 is the very important as per our Indian Constitution is considered, friends, because it provided the basic skeleton of the Constitution, and it was treated as the blueprint of the Constitution. Like when our Constitution makers thought of having a Constitution, they directly referred to Government of India Act first. Government of India Act 1935 first. That is the importance of this India Act. So what is the main important source in this is it provided for the establishment of All India Federation consisting of provinces and princely states as units. Means it provided for the center and states federation and its cooperation. Federation means having a center, two types of governments in the center and the state, both mutually will be supported. So that is what federation means. Like this Government of India Act 1935 has provided the establishment of that All India Federation. It was consisting of provinces and princely states. Provinces means which are under the control of British, and princely states, you know that just like Hyderabad under the Nizam rule, that was a princely state. That is how. And also this act divided the legislative powers between the center and the units. So it has given the powers were divided. Earlier the powers are all with the center. Now it was divided. Some powers were given to the states, that is nothing but units like provinces and princely states, and provided the office of the governor and emergency powers. So some reforms that office of a governor post was provided here. And the third thing we need to discuss is, this is very important, the Indian Independence Act. Don't confuse government, don't say that it is a Government of India Act 1947. It's Indian Independence Act. So if it starts with Government of India, so that means it is enacted by Britishers. If it starts with India, then it is enacted by Indians. It's the simple difference you need to remember, friends. The Indian Independence Act 1947. So what is the importance? This is what because of with which we got or independence, means it officially ended the British rule in India and declared India as an independent and sovereign state from August 15, 1947. So because of this act, that India has been India has become independent and sovereign statements. It's not influenced by any external force, so it can have its own government. So that is the meaning of sovereign. And it provides the partition of India. Like we know that before the independence, that day before the independence, that India got partition. So that partition details were mentioned in this act. And one more important thing we need to remember here is that the partition plan was given by Lord Mountbatten, and hence the plan is called as he has given, Lord Mountbatten has given this plan, so this plan is called Mountbatten plan. This is one more question asked in SSC CGL friends. So he was the first, like after this, once the government has, once the India got as independence, he became the first Governor General for the new dominion of India. It's only India, it's clearly India, not including of any Pakistan states. So and Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of India. So this act granted freedom to the Indian princely states, and one more important provision it has provided is, like we have discussed, that Indian princely states. So for this Indian princely states, this act has given some freedom. Either they can join India or they can join Pakistan, or they can join, they can be free also. So that we know that important episode of Nizam, like in Hyderabad state. In Hyderabad state, he has taken the advantage of this provision, and he thought of joining Hyderabad into the Pakistan. Like you can imagine the toughest situation at that time. So because of that provision, friends, so these three things has formed the basis for the constitution. So evolution of the constitution, and with this evolution of the constitution, so our constitution has been framed. But how the constitution will be framed, how the constitution was framed, we'll discuss now. The formation of the Constitution Assembly for making the constitution. First, if you want to make any constitution, if you want to write any script, if you want to write anything, you need to have the basic skeleton. So we already got the basic skeleton from 1935. That's okay. So we need to have some people, like you need to have some group of people, a committee of people. So that is the committee of the people. The group of people is called Constituent Assembly. So wherever you listen a word called Constituent Assembly, means it's a group of persons who work collectively to frame the constitution of the country. So that is what the meaning of the Constitution Assembly. So when this Constitution Assembly concept was came into picture in India, so in 1930, first time that M.N. Roy is the person who gave the idea of the Constituent Assembly to frame separate constitution for India. So he demanded separate constitution for India, and he also said that we need to have a separate constituent assembly to frame the constitution. So in 1935 is the first thing. Like in the same 1935, the first official demand. So he gave the idea, and the official demand by the Indian National Congress for the Constitutional Assembly, Constituent Assembly was given in 1935. And in 1939, Jawaharlal Nehru declared that the Constitution of India will be framed and elected Constituent Assembly by elected Constituent Assembly without external interference. So he said that we'll be having our own constitutional assembly, and no one need to interfere in that Constitution Assembly. And then what the British government did by these demands, so they accepted it. And they supported us in the following way. Like they supported means they gave an August offer. Like in the month of August in 1940, they gave an offer. In principle, they said that okay, we'll be forming a Constitutional Assembly, but it was not accepted. And the second one is Cripps plan. In 1942, again they said that we have another plan that was given by Stafford Cripps, Sir Stafford Cripps in 1942, and he had a proposal to be adopted after that. He had a proposal, and that is to be adopted by after the Second World, because at 1942 it was the time when Second World War is happening. But this idea of Stafford Cripps was rejected by Muslim League. They said that we want a separate state with separate constitutional assembly. So they had an idea of a separate state by that time. So finally, then what happened? So last thing, that was a cabinet mission. In 1946, cabinet mission was formed. It is consisting of Lord Pethick Lawrence and Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander. So, and this cabinet mission has rejected the claim for two separate constituent assemblies. They said that no, it is not possible to have two constituent assemblies. Go for single constituent assembly, and they gave a plan how to go for it. So that Muslim League, they don't have any option, they need to accept it. So more or less they accepted the Muslim League, this plan. Then what happened? So composition of constituent assembly. So cabinet mission has given that under the guidance of these three people, Lord Pethick Lawrence and Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander. So they said that go for like constitutional assembly. So how this constituent assembly composition is there, we need to see now. As per the scheme formulated by the cabinet mission, the constituent assembly was constituted in November 1946. It was constituted in November 46. So with how many members? The total representatives, they said that the total representatives are going to be 389. So, see friends, now this India was not partitioned by that time. So when this plan was given. So the representatives were to be 389. Out of this 389, 296 are to be from the British India, means under the control of British India states, and 93 were to be allotted to princely states. There were princely states. They were 93. Then 93 seats were to be allotted to princely state. This is the idea given by the cabinet mission. And in this, out of 296, so what happened is they said that the out of 296 seats allotted to British India. This 296 seats allotted to British India, 292 are to be elected from the governor provinces. There are two kinds of states. One is governed by the governors and one is governed by the chief commissioner provinces. There are 4 chief commissioner provinces. So 4 seats were given to chief commissioner provinces and 292 were given to governor provinces. And out of the 93 seats given to the princely states, and these 93 states have to be nominate a person. That nomination has to be done by the head of the princely states. Thus the Constitution Assembly is partly elected. So it's clearly seen that by these two provisions, like one is to be, some people are to be nominated, some people are to be elected. So we can clearly see that this Constitution Assembly is partly elected and partly nominated body. So fine. Now the representation is decided. Who became the members? So the election for this Constitution Assembly was held in July-August 1946. So the election was held, and what is the result of the election? 208 seats won by the Congress and 73 seats won by the Muslim League. So election was done for only 296 under the British rule. So remaining 93 were from the princely states. So out of this 296, 208 seats were won by the Congress and 73 seats won by the Muslim League, and 15 seats won by some of the independent members and some other small members. And one important thing we need to know, we need to note here is that Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah were not the members of the Constituent Assembly. So friends, now we have seen that how the Constitution Assembly was evolved. Like we had some acts given by the government, like British government, and then we demanded, the first demand came from M.N. Roy, then the government then Indian National Congress has demanded in 1935, and Jawaharlal Nehru declared in 1938, and British has given first offer in the name of August offer in 1940, and Cripps plan in 1942, it was rejected by the Muslim League, and cabinet mission in 1946, it was accepted. And because of that, and it has proposed for 389 seats, and out of this 296 were given to British states and 93 were given to princely states, and out of 296 allotted to British India, 292 were to be elected from the governor provinces, and 4 were from chief commissioner provinces, 1 from each. The 93 representatives of the princely states were nominated by the head of the princely states. So this is how, and the election was done, and election was conducted in July and August for 296 states under the British control, 296 seats under the British control, and the result of the election was 208 seats won by the Congress and 73 seats won by the Muslim League, and 15 won by the Independent India and other small members. And Muhammad Ali Jinnah and these were not included in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, now the Constituent Assembly was formed. Then what happened next? So if you want to see what happened next and then how the constitution formed, please go through the next video. So we'll be discussing the things in the next class.